Meet the creator of Victoria's Secret, Roy Larson Raymond. Here was a man who created the sexiest underwear of the late 90s, worn by supermodels and the Hollywood elite alike. Here was a man whose success was marred by depression. This is the tragic story of Roy Raymond, a budding entrepreneur whose name was written out of one of the greatest retail success stories of the late 90s. Victoria's Secret enjoyed its heyday during the late 90s and early noughties, and if you've followed the brand over the years, you'll already be aware of the annual Victoria's Secret fashion show, whose birth began in 1995. At its peak, the Victoria's Secret fashion show was watched by 1 billion people in over 190 countries, and the highlight of each show was none other than the iconic angel wings. The angel wings that made Victoria's Secret the most recognisable underwear brand in the Northern Hemisphere. Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, Tyra Banks, Miranda Kerr, Stella Maxwell and Adriana Lima. These supermodels were just a handful of angels who've headlined the show. As Victoria's Secret dined on its growing success in the US, young women flocked en masse to the American stores. Young women hoping to grab a piece of glitz and glamour, hoping to recreate their own interpretation of boudoir chic. If there was one ingredient that Victoria's Secret had originated, it was this. Victoria's Secret made underwear edgy, made it okay for underwear to be visible. From the late 90s, underwear for the very first time became a fashion statement as much as the clothes that concealed it. You see, in its prime, Victoria's Secret made underwear fun, but most of all, unlike its stuffy, elitist rivals, Victoria's Secret underwear was affordable for the everyday young woman. As a boy, Roy had a burning passion to start his own business. For years, this passion smouldered behind the scenes for Roy until one fateful day. That day came after an embarrassing encounter. The encounter took place in the women's underwear section of the department store. Roy, now married, was browsing through this intimate section of the store in the hope of finding a gift for his wife. But something was wrong. Roy felt deeply uncomfortable. As he browsed and picked up various items, he couldn't help but feel the gaze of the other shoppers around him. Their shocked stares continued as he browsed through the hideously patterned underwear that wasn't designed for his young wife, but underwear that seemed more suitable for his grandmother. Added to this, Roy's face reddened even more as he realised that he was the only man in the women's section, and approaching a sales assistant for help only made the matter worse. You see, the sales assistant made Roy feel so uncomfortable that he left the store as quickly as he could. This incident made Roy feel terrible. The sales assistant made him feel like an outsider and a pervert who dared to wander around in the women's underwear section of that department store. But what if there was a safe space where men could buy lingerie for their wives or girlfriends, yet not feel like creeps? This was the light bulb moment that triggered Roy's imagination. This light bulb moment gave birth to Victoria's Secret. A few months later, and with the help of $80,000, Roy and his wife opened their first Victoria's Secret store in Palo Alto, North California. The year was 1977. Within its first year, Victoria's Secret made $500,000 from their Palo Alto store. A hit with husbands and boyfriends, Victoria's Secret was literally an overnight sensation. Soon after, Roy expanded to a further 3 stores across San Francisco. It's worth noting that it wasn't just the men of Northern California who were able to buy. You see, by a stroke of genius, Roy had the brilliant idea to launch a mail-order catalogue. The mail-order catalogue enabled husbands and boyfriends who lived too far away from his stores to become Victoria's Secret customers too. Within a few years, Roy had opened 6 stores. With a predominantly male clientele, Roy's vision had finally come to life. No longer did men feel awkward or embarrassed to buy lingerie. In Victoria's Secret, Roy had created a sanctuary that removed the stigma that men like him felt when buying lingerie for their significant other. You see, by carving out his niche, Victoria's Secret had become an outlier. Fast forward to 1982. For Roy, all was not well. Dark clouds were descending around Roy's world, and those dark clouds would soon haunt Roy for the remainder of his life. Although Roy's stores were generating $4 million in turnover, Victoria's Secret was on the brink of bankruptcy. For Roy, in spite of his efforts to turn around the business, he couldn't figure out why it was failing. At this moment in time, Roy needed a lifeline. That lifeline came in the form of Leslie Rexner. Leslie Rexner was a seasoned, successful retailer. While on a business trip in San Francisco, Leslie had accidentally stumbled into a Victoria's Secret store, and as he took a look at Roy's store, he immediately knew what was wrong. You see, Roy had created a sanctuary for men only, so the problem with Roy's vision was that his stores alienated women. You see, each Victoria's Secret store, with its dark wood floors, red velvet, and oriental rugs, resembled a Victorian brothel. Literally, Roy's business model and vision alienated the female market. For Roy, by becoming so consumed by his vision of Victoria's Secret, he had inadvertently left millions of dollars on the table. And as Roy's business began to unravel, he had inadvertently driven away any hope of attracting female customers to his stores. Of course, for a shrewd businessman like Leslie, he didn't share his observations with Roy. No, Roy kept his observations to himself. Within 6 months, on the brink of bankruptcy, Roy approached Leslie once more and signed away his business for the paltry sum of $1 million. In the deal, all of Victoria's Secret stores, including the mail-order catalogue, was sold to Leslie Rexman. I can only imagine that Roy made this deal with a heavy heart. Victoria's Secret had been Roy's creation and his vision. You see, he'd poured his heart and soul into his company, and now, for $1 million, his company was sold to a man who Roy admitted gave him the creeps. As it turned out, Roy's misgivings towards Leslie were correct. You see, the deal was not beneficial to both men, but at the same time, Roy was desperately in debt, while Leslie had other plans for Victoria's Secret, and none of them included Roy. By the early 90s, Victoria's Secret was a national American brand with 350 stores coast to coast. Under new management, Roy's interior design for each store had been erased. Gone were the dark woods, the red velvet and the oriental rugs. In came candy-striped wallpaper combined with matching pink carpets. From this time onwards, Victoria's Secret was aimed primarily at fashionable young women. A wise man once said, as one star rises, another star falls, and for Roy, his star was about to fall into an abyss. Ever the creator, Roy launched himself into a new project, this time away from the lingerie market. By 1984, shortly after selling Victoria's Secret to Leslie, Roy opened a children's bookstore, which he called My Child's Destiny. Using the proceeds from his deal with Leslie, Roy ploughed $850,000 into his new business venture. Sadly, the children's store came to nothing, and by 1986, with the children's store in ruin, Roy was forced to file for bankruptcy once more. While a Chapter 11 bankruptcy is disappointing for any business owner, it doesn't always mean personal ruin. However, for Roy and his wife, the Chapter 11 filing did. You see, the business structure of My Child's Destiny was never incorporated. This lack of foresight meant that when Roy got into financial difficulties, he faced total liability. Unlike Victoria's Secret, this new bankruptcy meant that Roy and his wife had to sell off their most prized personal assets that included 2 luxury homes and their cars. Sadly, the failure of the children's store was inevitable. My Child's Destiny was marketed poorly, plus the store was located in an odd area of San Francisco, a location too far away from the foot traffic of passers-by. For Roy, it seemed that he'd lost his Midas touch, the Midas touch that ignited the success of Victoria's Secret. By the early 90s, now divorced and no closer to realizing his former success, Roy fell into a deep depression. On August 26, 1993, a middle-aged man matching Roy's description was seen walking towards the Golden Gate Bridge. A few hours later, a local Coast Guard found Roy's body floating near the shoreline. Roy's suicide was barely reported at the time of his death, and while Victoria's Secret was a roaring success in the 90s and noughties, by 2018 its past glories had long gone. Today, Generation Z views Victoria's Secret as irrelevant and misaligned with today's narrative. You see, the death of an iconic brand comes as no surprise to me, because all successful brands eventually die. It's just a pity that the creator of the Victoria's Secret brand didn't get the chance to enjoy its decade-long success. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more videos like this, click the subscribe button to support my channel. Until the next time, thanks for watching.